Gundam Heavy Arms, Gundam Heavier Arms, Gundam Heaviest Arms! Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this is another high-grade advance of Zeta kit, which means this is quite the mouthful. This right here is the RX-121 2P Gundam TR1 Hazel Owlsa Gigantic Arm Unit. As usual, this video would not have been possible without those awesome people over at BUYEE. They sent this onto me, and if you're looking for some premium Bandai and hard-to-get kits of your own, link in the description. So before I go into anything about this particular kit itself, I'm just going to mention, for the uninitiated, what the high-grade Advance of Zeta line is like. Well, basically, when it comes to Advance of Zeta, it's about the Titans doing a bunch of prototype mobile suits by taking a bunch of mobile suits, taking the parts off them, slapping them together, trying to replicate the effects or the tech or the stats of other mobile suits by slapping stuff on other mobile suits. The main two that we've got is the TR1 Hazel and the TR6 Woundwort. Those are the two core mobile suits. When it actually comes to the gunpla, they're just as experimental and over the top, and at the same time wacky as the designs were, which means it's exactly where it wants to be and needs to be. It's a wild, wacky action line without a doubt. Now, for straight builders, these aren't always the greatest. However, I will mention that the Hazel Owlsa Gigantic Arm Unit right here is actually quite a good kit. And straight built, it is nice too. But there's a whole lot going on in here. For example, this is the amount of leftover plastic. This is based on a whole bunch of kits. We've got the Hazel, the core of this kit right here. Now this is a kit that is from 2005, so this is all based around a 17-year-old kit. However, it's a very good high grade for one that dated. This kit also contains some runners from the Advanced Hazel, just a kind of bit of an upgrade. And then we've got a bunch of different premium Bandai kits kind of included in here as well. That would be the Furudodo, the Furudodo 2, and the Penelope, all of which are kind of like various supplementary units for using with these particular Advance of Zeta high grades. And then finally, we've got what is unique to this kit, which is the gigantic arms. These look like exactly what they are, and that is the arms of the Psycho Gundam. Now, I will mention, these are brand new for this kit. This is not just a rehash of these Psycho Gundam's arms we would have seen donkeys years ago. These are actually re-engineered from the ground up for this kit. There is none of the transforming mechanism or anything like that in here, but these are extremely impressive. Now, this whole kit is a whole bunch of kits blasted together, and usually what you get in the end is something that is a little, well, not that awesome to play around with, pose, build, or just have on your shelf in general. That's not necessarily the case here. This works, and works pretty well. Let's check it out. So now jumping into the aesthetics, and first off I'm going to take off all the supplementary aspects and get this straight down to the actual core unit, which is the high-grade Hazel Owlsa. So there's the full 360 spin of what this looks like just as the Owlsa itself, and we've seen this in multiple iterations before. The easiest way to describe what this is, it's the standard release Advanced Hazel with the Primrose unit attached as its body. So that means the torso unit there is actually the Primrose, which is a very nice detailed segment. Now this, for a kit that is primarily made up of the Hazel, which is 17 years old, is a ridiculously beautiful kit. The surface detailing on this is phenomenal. It may not be color accurate in a lot of regards, but the detail is fantastic, the proportions look great, and the Hazel is such a nicely designed Gundam unit. This always blows my mind and impresses me. This must have been such an impressive kit back in 2005. So what you're seeing right here is essentially 100% straight built. That is it, just straight built, snipped out, snapped together, and just the stickers were used. I didn't panline anything on this kit or detail anything up, so this is exactly what you'll get. I did panline the muzzle a little bit just so the face pops, but besides that, 100% out of box build. Now compared to the actual release images of this, here's an example of what it should look like. Obviously we're not looking at the gigantic arms at the moment, but if we move on to the actual Hazel itself, you'll notice it's missing a lot of detail. In these front armor segments, we're meant to have yellow and gray up on these circular sections, gray on these big squares. Even on the torso itself, the inside of those chest vents are meant to be in gray. We go down to the legs, we're missing a whole lot of black squares. Of course, this is easy to do yourself, but it is worth noting, and even around back, all of this detail is not color accurate. This is a 17-year-old kit once again, except the Penelope body, so this is not to be unexpected. Just be ready to bring some paints, some panel liners, or have it look a little bit plain. So sure, along the armor there are a few color inaccuracies that you will need to detail up yourself, but as for the stickers that come included in here, they're mainly just for the different sensors and reflective parts. That is the eye sticker, that big old mohawk of green along the top of the head, and the green segment squares on the front of the legs and on the backpack. So now moving into the accessories, and I'm going to be including the gigantic arms in here as well. So what we get, of course, is those gigantic arms, that blade rifle that has become synonymous with these Hazel kits so far, and we've got a whole bunch of hands here too, which is 5 in total. Lastly, then we do have one of these runnerless stands included, and I will mention this is not to hold the kit up in the air, this is to hold the kit up. Anyway, let's check them out. So in here we've got a whole bunch of hands. These attach on in the usual ball joint kind of way, like that. And this first pair right here is your standard pair of high-grade holding hands, and although this kit technically does not come with anything to hold, we do actually get one beam saber left over on the runners. Now, I will mention this kit has a ridiculous amount of stuff left over on the runners, and I mean a whole lot of stuff. This is just one example, which is a standard beam saber, but the leftover plastic in here is absolutely insane. I'm not going to go through it all, but there is so much in here. You're looking at a whole bunch of parts off the Penelope, the original Hazel's body, a whole bunch of shields, the Hurududu. You can't really make a whole lot, really, of actual Hazel usable stuff, but it's a lot of extra parts for customization and customs and all of that jazz. So next up in here we've got a standard long-range weapon holding hand with a trigger finger. You can use that, of course, with the massive unique beam rifle that we get in here, which is this, but as you can see we also have the option of this wrist that is extended at an angle, which works better when this has been extended to this particular version of the beam rifle. I will mention, it is completely possible to just strip this down to the standard Hazel rifle just like so. As for the other hands we have in here, when it comes to the left hand, we have a widespread dynamic hand, which is always a nice addition. And on the right hand side, then we've got this one right here, which is a uniquely shaped hand. That is for using with the blade rifle like so, for this really cool resting pose position. That works out extremely well. So now moving on to the main event in this box, and that of course is the gigantic arm unit itself. This thing looks absolutely stupendous. This is not the same as just grabbing yourself a Psycho Gundam, stealing its arms, attaching it to a Furudodo, and sticking it on the back of a Hazel. This looks so good. It's brand new design for this kit, all built from the ground up, brand new. The plastic is phenomenal. The colors you're seeing right here are the colors on it, and there are a few elements we would have seen before from the Hurudodo, the Hurudodo 2. I will also mention that this to me looks like some kind of JRPG bad guy on its own, not connected to the actual Hazel. Kind of a bit of a Shin Megami Tensei looking kind of thing. Let's get it slapped on. So getting this attached onto the back of the Hazel Owlsa is simple enough. We've got this little adapter segment like so that pops into the standard Hazel backpack, and that then just slots on into the gigantic arm unit like so. Now, we'll mention at this point then, you now are pretty much stuck to having to use this runnerless stand in order to support the weight of the gigantic arms. Now, of course, you can actually pop the whole kit up onto an action base, but you do need the old school style adapter in order to do that. And we'll take a look at that in a second, but I will highly recommend tightening up the ball joint hips that this kit has, because it is very floppy, has a lot of trouble standing up, even with the support round back, and tends to kind of flop and drop quite a bit. You motherfucker! So when it comes to the actual articulation on these arms, this is mind-blowing and not what we would have had with the Mark II. So the arms can rotate all the way around on a peg like so, not a ball joint, a nice secure peg. You can kick them up and out really high, which is absolutely awesome. And on detaching this, we've got the full rotation at the upper arm, a bend at the elbow that blows my mind to absolute bits, because we actually have a part that recesses into the forearm, making sure we get the full bend here, not just an old school crappy bend. This is impressive. At the wrist then, we've got a ball joint that gives us a lot of rotation, spin, everything you need. And then at the fingers, we've got a whole bunch of articulation, including bends in the middle of the fingers that aren't the, well, thumb, as in the actual fingers. So you can pull off the poses that you need to, like this one right here. This is highly impressive. When it comes to the other aspects, there isn't really a whole lot of movement on this kit. This segment opens up like so, like we would have seen with a lot of these kits before, but we don't have any wired segment for using it there, so close that back up again. We have these arm sections here on the shoulders with these railgun segments. We've got one hinge here, a second hinge here, and a point of rotation right here to get them into whatever position you'd like to get them into. Just like we've seen time and time again with these kits, you can just pop this here segment off like so, reattach it on a little further up like that to display these railguns open just like so. So if a regular set of arms is enough, a gigantic set of arms is not enough. Well, because this is the advanced Hazel, we also have the sub arms in the crotch unit. I meant to mention these earlier on, but these can fold out just like so. We've got actually articulated fingers in these manipulators, which is ridiculous, and these can actually hold on to stuff like the beam rifle as well as the beam sabers, just like so. These are so cool. We've got massive arms, and even smaller arms. So lastly then, in here we've got the big old beam blade rifle. In order to attach that, we need to swap out the hand, popping it out like so. I will mention this thing's hips, like I've said already, they don't lie, and it's falling over all the time. We do have a nice hand attached to this, which has a angled wrist, so it will not really get in the way, but hey, it still constantly gets in the way. So you can just attach this on like so. Those fall off all the time too. All it takes is boop, and then they're gone. So, you know, a couple of things on this kit will need tightening out of the box. So once you get this blade rifle into the hand, this can be a little bit difficult to pose. First off, you're not really going to get this into any kind of tight to the body sort of pose, posing it like an actual beam rifle, due to the fact that it is very long towards the stock end or the end closest to the body. So you can actually work around this in a multitude of ways. The first is to actually tuck it in underneath the actual backpack unit like so, so you've got it somewhat close in, but it is at a little bit of a funny angle. The other option is to do what you usually do with these kits, and that is pretty much pop it up onto the shoulder like it's some kind of bazooka. Still works, it's massive, and if all that doesn't work out, you can just pop it into the hand like we did earlier on for a nice, stoic standing there pose. That'd be pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to go into the full articulation on this particular kit right here because I don't have any more time to spend on this today, but I will mention that all the articulation you get in the arms does make up for the fact that this is an older kit beyond the actual gigantic arms. The Hazel Owlsa itself cannot do a whole lot, especially in the legs. The arms do what basic arms do, but besides that, it is quite stuck for what it's able to pull off. The arms, however, can do a lot, like we saw earlier on, so that is the real expressive and real over-the-top part of this kit. So yeah, I guess that brings it right to the end. That is it for the review. Now, these kits are always super hard to rank because the kit itself, the Owlsa, I would have given silver tier to. It's not too bad for an older kit, all things considered. But the actual arms attached to this are 100% maybe gold, I'd say platinum tier arms actually. The arms are phenomenal. They're the best part about it. Compared to a lot of other Advance of Zeta kits I've seen, what's been made brand new for the box right here has blown my mind. So on average, I'm going to give this kit gold tier, mainly because the arms are so good. The Hazel is exactly what you'd expect from a Hazel. Now, this is a kit 100% for display as opposed to play. That is because it can't really pull off a whole lot in the Hazel's body. Really, all that you're seeing in these spins right now are pretty much all you're going to get from the poses out of this. 100% the arms are the best aspect about this kit and what it's worth buying for. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. I got mine through BUYEE, link in the description. As always, make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, this video and every video would not be possible without each and every one of you guys who watches my videos. And special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and on the channel members, including Caleb Engelhart, Global Frequency Studios, Go Little Rockstar, Gunpla UK Limited, Joe, Kill Me Inc., Lawrence Seahack, RG59061, and Van Fawn.